I got pregnant. Then my Childfree. Fiancé revealed a shocking secret. I got pregnant even though my fiancé and I were both completely child-free. We talked about it for years. We agreed we never wanted kids. We used birth control. He used condoms. We were careful. So when the doctor told me I was 6 to 7 weeks pregnant, I thought my entire life had just fallen apart. But what happened when I told my fiancé was even worse. I'm 30 years old and my fiancé is 32. When we first got serious, one of the biggest conversations we had was about children. Neither of us wanted them. We checked in on the topic regularly throughout our relationship just to make sure we were still on the same page. We'd been together for 2 years and engaged for 3 months. Not once had we even had a pregnancy scare. I was on birth control. He used condoms. Everything seemed fine. Then I started feeling awful. I was nauseous. I had headaches. I felt exhausted all the time. At first I thought I was sick. But after the symptoms kept getting worse, I went to the doctor. They ran some routine tests, including a pregnancy test. A little while later, they came back and told me I was around 6 to 7 weeks pregnant. I actually laughed. There was no way. I told them to test again, but they were confident. I was pregnant. I couldn't even process it. I was internally freaking out because somehow our precautions had failed and now I had to tell my fiancé. When I got home, I completely broke down. I was crying, barely able to get words out. He did exactly what I expected at first. He hugged me, comforted me, told me everything would be okay. For a moment, I felt relieved. Then everything changed. He told me we'd make great parents, that he'd be with me every step of the way. My stomach dropped. I asked him what he meant. He told me this pregnancy felt like a miracle, that despite everything we'd done to avoid having children, it still happened. And now he wanted to keep the baby. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We were supposed to be child-free. We had both agreed on that. But suddenly he was acting like everything was different. I told him I wanted an abortion. I was terrified. I'd never been pregnant before, never gone through anything like this. I needed support. I needed him beside me. But instead, he was excited. I was overwhelmed for an entirely different reason than he realized. Because I knew with absolute certainty that I did not want this baby. I didn't want to be pregnant. I didn't want to give birth. I didn't want to raise a child. And I had no idea how to tell him. 2 days later, we finally had the conversation, and it went terribly. I started by asking whether he genuinely wanted this baby, or if he was just acting excited because he thought I wanted it. Unfortunately, he told me he really did want it. So I finally told him the truth. I told him I didn't want the baby, that I planned to get an abortion, and that if he'd truly changed his mind about children, I needed to know. He looked shocked, then angry. He asked how I couldn't be excited, how I could want to get rid of our baby. I explained that nothing had changed for me. I never wanted children. I still didn't want children. Getting pregnant hadn't changed that. He claimed I wasn't thinking clearly, that I was overwhelmed. That annoyed me immediately. I had spent the entire day thinking about this. I knew exactly what I wanted. Then I told him something difficult. If he wanted children, I wouldn't stop him. But it wouldn't be with me. Because if our views on children were no longer aligned, then our relationship was over. Instead of accepting that, he tried harder to convince me. He said we'd make great parents, that we'd figure it out, that he'd work harder. But he completely ignored the fact that I simply didn't want to go through with the pregnancy. The argument got worse. He never got physical. But his insistence that I couldn't get an abortion was making me deeply uncomfortable. Then something strange happened. I asked him how long he'd wanted children. Was it before I got pregnant or after? He wouldn't answer. At that point, I started having doubts. For the first time, I wondered whether our birth control had actually failed naturally, or if something else had happened. When I asked directly whether he'd messed with our contraception, he looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Then he left. After that, I packed my essentials and left the house. A friend took me in. She listened to everything, supported me, and promised she'd be there for me no matter what. Later, my fiancé called. I told him exactly where I stood. I was getting an abortion. I didn't need his permission. And if he wanted a family, he'd have to build one with someone else. The call was heartbreaking. We both cried. But by the end of it, we both knew it was over. The man I thought I would marry was now my ex-fiancé. I eventually went back with friends to collect my belongings. One detail still bothered me, though. People online suggested checking the condoms. Apparently, the box he normally kept by the bed was gone. I looked everywhere. I couldn't find it. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe it meant everything. I'll probably never know. But I do know one thing. The accidental pregnancy wasn't what ended our relationship. The moment he stopped respecting my choice, our future together disappeared. What do you think? Did the fiancé genuinely change his mind after finding out about the pregnancy? Or do you think something else was going on? Comment below.